He was homeless, starving, and had $5 to his name. She was a broke student who gave him her last $10 just so he could print a portfolio. He promised himself that if he ever made it out, he'd find her. 5 years later, she walked into an interview for a job she was unqualified for. She didn't know the CEO was the man she saved. And he didn't want to interview her, he wanted to give her half his empire. The humidity in Houston that afternoon was oppressive, the kind of heat that sticks your shirt to your back and makes the air feel heavy in your lungs. For Marcus, however, the heat was the least of his problems. The real weight pressing down on him was the realization that his life had come down to a mathematical impossibility. He stood at the counter of Quick Print Solutions, a sterile shop smelling of toner and cheap carpet. His hands, though scrubbed as clean as he could manage in the gas station bathroom down the block, still bore the faint, stubborn grime of street life. On the counter lay a flash drive. It contained the only thing of value Marcus possessed, his portfolio. Its 18 pages, full color, cardstock binding, the clerk said, not looking up from his phone. He popped his gum. That comes to $10.50, tax included. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. He reached into the pocket of his oversized cargo shorts and pulled out his entire net worth. 3 crumpled $1 bills and a handful of quarters and dimes. He counted it again, praying for a miracle, praying that math would work differently just this once. $5.20. Sir, Marcus said, his voice raspy from days of limited conversation. I have $5. Look, I don't need the binding. Just the pages. Black and white is fine. I just need to get this printed. I have an interview tomorrow at 9 a.m. It's a junior design role. If I get it, I can come back and pay you double. Triple. The clerk finally looked up. His eyes scanned Marcus's worn-out sneakers, the fraying collar of his shirt, and the desperate set of his jaw. There was no sympathy in the clerk's eyes, only the dull annoyance of someone who had seen too many people begging for favors. Store policy, the clerk snapped, pointing to a laminated sign. Payment up front. No credit. No exceptions. If you don't have the money, move along. You're blocking the paying customers. Marcus looked behind him. The store was empty. Please, Marcus whispered, his pride fracturing. This is my shot. I've been on the street for 12 months. I just need this paper. And I need to not get fired for giving away inventory, the clerk retorted. Get out. Marcus grabbed his coins and his flash drive. He walked out of the air conditioning and back into the suffocating heat of the Houston pavement. He walked a block away and collapsed onto the curb, his back against a brick wall. The despair that hit him then was worse than the hunger. Hunger was a physical ache, this was a spiritual hollowing. He had the talent. He had the drive. He had the interview. But he was going to lose it all because he was lacking a piece of green paper. He tore a flap off a discarded cardboard box nearby. With a black marker he kept in his pocket for sketching, he wrote a message. Usually, he never flew a sign. He preferred to scavenge cans or do day labor. But today was different. Today was urgent. Short $5 for a portfolio print. Need a job, not booze. Please. He held the sign up. The world moved fast. Businessmen in suits marched past, eyes fixed on their watches. Mothers pulled their children closer, steering them away from the dangerous man on the ground. A luxury sedan sped through a puddle, splashing murky water onto Marcus's shins. He didn't even flinch. He just watched the sun begin to dip lower, marking the death of his chances. The print shop closed in an hour. 40 minutes passed. Marcus lowered the sign. It was over. Excuse me. The voice was soft, hesitant. Marcus looked up. Standing there, blocking the glare of the sun, was a young woman. She looked no older than 22, dressed in jeans and a faded university hoodie, a bulky backpack slung over one shoulder. She looked tired, the kind of tired that comes from studying all night, but her eyes were kind. "I saw your sign," she said. She wasn't looking at him with pity, she was looking at him with curiosity. "You're a designer?" Marcus nodded, ashamed. "I'm trying to be." Again. "I'm a graphic design student," she said, a small smile touching her lips. "I know how expensive prints can be." She shuffled her wallet out of her back pocket. It was a Velcro wallet, thin and battered. She opened it. Inside was a single $10 bill and a library card. She stared at the bill for a second. Marcus saw the hesitation. That wasn't disposable income. That was dinner. That was bus fare. "No," Marcus said, raising a hand. "Miss, if that's all you have, don't. I can't take." She pulled the bill out and crouched down, placing it directly into his dirty palm. She closed his fingers over it. "My name is Emily," she said. "This was supposed to be my lunch for the next 2 days, honestly. But I have a meal plan at the dorms, I can survive on cereal." She stood up, adjusting her backpack. "I think right now, you need this more than I do. Go get that job." Marcus looked at the crisp bill, then up at her. His vision blurred with tears he had been holding back for a year. "Thank you," he choked out. I don't know how to repay you." "Just make something beautiful," Emily said. She gave him a thumbs up, turned, and walked away, disappearing into the crowd of rush-hour commuters. Marcus didn't watch her go. He scrambled to his feet, wiped his eyes on his sleeve, and ran back toward the print shop. He had 20 minutes to change his destiny. The interview the next morning was a blur of adrenaline and anxiety. Marcus had spent the night in a 24-hour laundromat, washing his only collared shirt in the sink and drying it under the hand dryer until it was warm and stiff. He had shaved in a public park restroom with a disposable razor he'd saved for weeks. When he walked into the lobby of Apex Creative, he didn't look like a man who had slept on concrete. He looked like a man who was hungry. The creative director, a stern man named David with thick-rimmed glasses, flipped through the portfolio. The pages were crisp, the colors vibrant, thanks to Emily's $10. "This is interesting work," David mumbled, pausing on a rebranding concept Marcus had designed for a hypothetical airline. "The typography is aggressive. Unconventional. Safety is boring," Marcus said, his voice steady despite his heart hammering against his ribs. "You asked for a designer who could disrupt the market. Safe designs don't disrupt. They blend in." David looked up, over the rim of his glasses. He studied Marcus. He didn't see the homelessness, he saw the conviction. "When can you start?" "Right now," Marcus answered. "I don't have anywhere else to be." That first paycheck was the sweetest thing Marcus had ever known. He didn't spend it on luxury. He got a small studio apartment, a glorified closet, really. But it had a lock on the door and a shower that ran hot water. He bought a mattress, a laptop, and a suit. For the first year, Marcus was the first one in the office and the last one to leave. He worked with a ferocity that frightened his colleagues. They worked to pay their mortgages, Marcus worked as if the pavement was waiting to swallow him back up if he missed a deadline. He absorbed everything. He learned UI/UX design, motion graphics, and 3D rendering. He didn't just design. He solved problems. By year 2, he was promoted to senior designer. His unconventional background became his superpower. While other designers looked at trends on Instagram for inspiration, Marcus looked at the texture of peeling paint on subway walls, the chaotic rhythm of city traffic, the raw survival of the streets. His work had a pulse that the polished, art school graduates couldn't replicate. By year 3, headhunters were calling. Apex Creative couldn't hold him. He moved to a larger firm, doubling his salary. He bought a condo. He bought a car. He started eating at restaurants where the menu didn't have prices listed. But he never forgot the girl with the backpack. Every time he opened his wallet, he thought of her. He had actually kept the receipt from that print shop. It was framed on his desk at home, a faded slip of thermal paper that read, total, $10.50. It was his dollar number one, contrasting the framed checks that now adorned his office walls. He tried to find her. He searched social media for Emily Design Student Houston, but the results were endless. He went back to the street corner where they met, hoping she might pass by, but she never did. Houston was a massive sprawl, a sea of millions. She was a ghost who had saved his life. By year 5, Marcus did what everyone told him was impossible. He opened his own agency, Beacon Studios. He wanted to build a company that didn't just make ads, but told stories. He wanted to hire people based on their grit, not just their GPA. Beacon Studios exploded. They landed contracts with tech giants and fashion labels. Marcus was featured in Forbes. He was the creative director of his own destiny. He wore tailored Italian suits and drank espresso that cost more than the portfolio print that started it all. Yet, despite the accolades and the wealth, there was a hollow space. He felt a debt hanging over him. He wasn't a religious man, but he believed in balance. The universe had tipped the scales in his favor because of a stranger's sacrifice. Until he could balance that scale, he felt like he was still, in some way, sitting on that curb, waiting for permission to exist. He threw himself into his work, burying the guilt under layers of success. But fate has a funny way of circling back. It doesn't rush. It waits until you are exactly where you need to be. While Marcus was skyrocketing toward the stratosphere, Emily was learning that doing everything right doesn't guarantee a reward. Emily graduated cum laude from her university. She had the degree, the debt, and the optimism. She moved to the city, ready to conquer the design world. But the job market she entered was not the one she had studied for. It was saturated, cutthroat, and increasingly automated. "We love your work," the emails would say, "but we've decided to go with a candidate who has more experience." "We're looking for a unicorn," the recruiters told her. "Someone who can do graphic design, coding, video editing, and copywriting. For $35,000 a year." Emily settled. She took a job at a local print shop, ironically similar to the one Marcus had visited, just to pay rent. She spent her days fixing the formatting on lost dog flyers and wedding invitations for bridezillas who screamed at her about font shades. By night, she freelanced on gig websites, competing with designers overseas who charged $2 an hour. The slow erosion of her dreams was painful to watch. The spark she had that day on the street, the belief that art could change things, was being ground down by late fees and eviction notices. 5 years had passed. Emily was now 27, but she felt 50. Her apartment was a cramped walk-up with a radiator that hissed and rattled. She was tired. Deeply, spiritually tired. The day the eviction notice came, Emily was sitting on her floor, eating instant ramen. It was the irony that stung the most. She remembered the day she gave away her lunch money to that homeless man. She remembered feeling so abundant, so sure that the universe would provide. She had thought, "I'm going to be a big-shot designer soon, this $10 doesn't matter." Now, looking at her bank account balance, $42.18, she realized how naive she had been. That $10 could have bought her dinner tonight. She opened her laptop, the screen cracked in the corner, and refreshed the job boards for the 1000th time. It was a ritual of masochism. Scroll, click, apply, silence. Scroll, click, apply, rejection. Then, she saw it. Beacon Studios is hiring. Role, Senior Graphic Designer. Requirements: we don't care about your degree. We care about your eye. We want storytellers. Send us your best work. Emily knew Beacon Studios. Everyone did. They were the hottest agency in the city. Their work was everywhere: billboards, Super Bowl commercials, viral campaigns. The founder, Marcus something, was an enigma. He rarely gave interviews. Senior designer, she scoffed aloud. I'm barely a junior designer according to my resume. She almost scrolled past. But something about the description tugged at her. We don't care about your degree. It felt personal. It felt different from the corporate jargon of other listings. She spent the next 6 hours overhauling her portfolio. She stripped out the safe, corporate work she had done for freelance clients. She put in her passion projects. The raw, messy, beautiful sketches she did in her sketchbook when she was too anxious to sleep. She included a series of posters about urban isolation, about the feeling of being invisible in a crowd. She hit send at 3 a.m. She didn't expect a reply. She expected the void. 3 days later, her phone rang. A pleasant voice on the other end said, "Hi, is this Emily? We'd love for you to come in. The creative director wants to meet you personally." Emily nearly dropped the phone. Personally? For a first round? He insisted, the receptionist said. Can you be here tomorrow at 10? Emily spent the last of her money dry cleaning her only blazer. She looked in the mirror. She saw the dark circles under her eyes, the worry lines forming. She didn't see a high-powered executive. She saw a girl trying to survive. She took a deep breath, pinned her hair back, and walked out the door. She didn't know it, but she was walking toward a collision 5 years in the making. The headquarters of Beacon Studios was a testament to modern success. It was a converted warehouse in the Arts District, all exposed brick, steel beams, and floor-to-ceiling glass. The lobby smelled of expensive cedar wood and potential. Emily checked in at the front desk, her hands trembling. She felt like an imposter. The people walking around looked like models. They carried tablets and wore sneakers that cost more than her rent. She tucked her scuffed boots under the chair in the waiting area, trying to make herself smaller. Emily. She looked up. A stylish assistant with a headset was smiling at her. Mr. Vance is ready for you. Mr. Vance? Emily asked. She realized she didn't even know the founder's last name. Marcus Vance. The owner. Follow me. They walked through the open-plan office. It was buzzing with creative energy. Emily felt a pang of jealousy so sharp it almost hurt. This was where she was supposed to be. This was the dream she had been sold in college. Why was it so easy for them and so hard for her? They reached the end of the hall. A massive set of double glass doors stood closed. The assistant knocked once, then pushed them open. Go on in. Emily stepped inside. The room was expansive, with a view of the Houston skyline that took her breath away. In the center was a long table made of reclaimed wood. At the far end, a man stood with his back to her, looking out the window. He was wearing a navy suit that fit him perfectly. His posture was commanding. Hello. Emily said, her voice barely a squeak. She cleared her throat. I'm Emily. Thank you for seeing me. The man didn't turn around immediately. He seemed to be composing himself. The silence stretched out, thick and heavy. Emily shifted her weight, gripping the strap of her bag until her knuckles turned white. Was this a test? Was he waiting for her to pitch herself? I reviewed your portfolio, Emily, the man said. His voice was deep, resonant, and vaguely familiar, though she couldn't place it. There's a lot of pain in your work. A lot of struggle. I believe art should reflect reality, Emily stammered, falling back on her prepared answers. I try to capture the human condition. The human condition, the man repeated. He turned around slowly. He was handsome, well-groomed, with a short beard and piercing eyes. He looked nothing like the specter of the man she had met 5 years ago. He looked like power. He looked like success. But when his eyes locked onto hers, the facade of the CEO cracked. His expression wasn't one of judgment. It was one of overwhelming recognition. He looked at her as if she were a ghost. "Have we met?" Emily asked, the question slipping out before she could stop it. The intensity of his stare was making her dizzy. Marcus smiled, but it was a sad, crooked smile. His eyes were shining. "You don't remember me," he said softly. "I don't blame you. I look a little different than the last time we spoke." He walked around the table, moving closer to her. Emily instinctively took a half-step back. 5 years ago, Marcus said, his voice thickening with emotion. "Corner of 5th and Main. It was 90 degrees. You were wearing a university hoodie." Emily frowned, her mind racing. 5th and Main. That was near her old campus. "I was sitting on the ground," Marcus continued. "I had a cardboard sign. I needed $5 to print a portfolio." The memory hit Emily like a physical blow. The heat. The smell of the city. The desperate man with the kind eyes. The $10 bill. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Oh my God," she whispered. "That was you?" The silence in the room was electric. The distance between the billionaire CEO and the struggling freelancer vanished, replaced by the shared memory of a sidewalk in the summer heat. "You gave me $10, Marcus said, stopping just a few feet from her. "You told me it was your lunch money. You told me to go get that job." "I remember," Emily said, tears pricking her eyes. I wondered what happened to you. I hoped you made it." "I did," Marcus said, spreading his arms to gesture at the office around them. "Because of you. That $10 paid for the print. That print got me my first job. That job got me my career. This building. This company. It's all built on the foundation of that $10 bill." Emily shook her head, overwhelmed. I just did what anyone would do." "No," Marcus said firmly. "Hundreds of people walked past me that day. You stopped. You saw me when the rest of the world looked right through me." He walked back to the table and picked up a leather folder. He didn't sit in the CEO's chair. He pulled out the chair next to where Emily was standing and gestured for her to sit. She sank into the leather, feeling lightheaded. "I've been looking for you," Marcus confessed. "For years. But I didn't know your last name. When I saw your portfolio, I recognized the style. But when I saw your face in the lobby just now, I knew." He slid the folder across the table to her. "This isn't an interview, Emily," he said. Emily looked down at the folder. "It isn't?" "No. I don't need to interview you to know what kind of person you are. I know you have talent. I've seen your work. But more importantly, I know you have heart. Skill can be taught. Empathy. That's rare." Emily opened the folder. Inside was a contract. Her eyes scanned the legal text, catching key phrases. Senior partner. Equity stake. Signing bonus. The numbers on the page were staggering. The salary was more than she had made in the last 3 years combined. "I don't understand," Emily said, looking up at him, tears finally spilling over her cheeks. "You're offering me a job. You haven't even asked me a single question." "I'm not offering you a job," Marcus corrected her. "I'm offering you a partnership." He reached into his breast pocket and pulled out his wallet. Carefully, he extracted a small, laminated piece of paper. The receipt. Total, $10.50. Investors expect a return on their capital, Marcus said, his voice breaking slightly. You invested in me when I was a penny stock. Now, the stock is up. It's time to pay the dividend. Emily laughed, a wet, choked sound of disbelief and joy. Marcus, this is too much. It was just $10. It was everything, Marcus whispered. It was my life. He took a pen from his pocket and set it on top of the contract. We have a lot of work to do, Marcus said, his business demeanor returning, though his eyes remained warm. I need someone who can ground me. Someone who remembers what it's like to be hungry. I need a partner who sees people, not just pixels. Emily picked up the pen. Her hand wasn't shaking anymore. For the first time in 5 years, the weight on her chest was gone. She looked at Marcus, the man she had saved, who was now saving her. I'd love to, she said. She signed her name. Outside the glass walls, the sun was setting over Houston, casting a golden glow over the city. 5 years ago, under that same sun, two strangers had exchanged a fleeting moment of kindness. Today, they sat side by side, proof that no act of love is ever wasted. It simply travels, grows, and eventually, finds its way back home.